I'm Isabel. For 20 years, I lived in a house built on a lie. I thought the foundation was trust. I thought the walls were shared dreams. I thought the roof over our heads was secure, paid for by mutual sacrifice and careful planning. My husband, Thomas, was the architect, and I was the tenant, living happily in the beautiful illusion he constructed, never thinking to check the blueprints. I didn't realize that for 2 decades, he had been quietly removing bricks from our foundation and selling them off. He took out loans in our name, he racked up secret debts, he opened and closed accounts like a magician performing a sleight of hand, all while presenting me with a carefully edited balance sheet of our lives. He managed the money. You have enough to worry about, he'd say. And I, trusting the man I'd built a life and raised children with, believed him. The day I discovered the truth wasn't dramatic. There was no hidden envelope, no shocking phone call. It was a quiet, creeping dread that finally demanded to be heard. And when I followed it, I didn't just find numbers on a page. I found the fossilized remains of my own naivete. I found a parallel life he'd been living in the shadows. The betrayal wasn't just financial. It was existential. It was the theft of time, of security, of the shared reality that is the bedrock of a marriage. He thought I would forgive him. I always had before. He thought that at 57, I was too old, too dependent, too scared to walk away from the wreckage. He was wrong. I left with nothing but a suitcase and the one thing he couldn't liquefy or borrow against, my dignity. And I started again from zero. From less than zero. 5 years later, I stand in a kitchen I designed, in a house I bought alone, with my own 2 hands and my own rebuilt credit. The bread I'm baking is for me. The silence is peaceful, not lonely. And when he saw what I had built without him, and tried to return, thinking I'd take back the architect of my ruin, I simply shut the door. Not with a slam, but with the gentle, final click of a lock turned from the inside. The life he stole is gone. The life I built is mine. Thomas and I met in our 30s. He was charismatic, confident, with a head for numbers and a talk of big futures. I was a teacher, grounded, creative. He called us the perfect balance. You teach the future, I'll finance ours, he'd joke. Early on, it made sense for him to handle the money. He was an accountant, after all. It was his language. I was busy with our children, with my classroom, with the vibrant, messy business of living. He'd present me with a budget, show me the savings graph climbing steadily, talk about our retirement nest egg. I felt cared for, protected. Our life was comfortable, not lavish. A nice suburban home, reliable cars, family vacations to the beach. We weren't extravagant, Thomas assured me. We were strategic. He spoke of leveraging assets and tax shelters with such authority that I nodded along, proud of his acumen. The first whisper of doubt was so small I almost missed it. A call from a credit card company asking for him. When I handed him the phone, his face tightened. He took it into his office and closed the door. Later, he explained it away. A clerical error, darling. Someone with a similar name. All sorted. Then there was the refinancing of the house. Rates are historically low, he said. We'll pull some equity out, invest it, and make more than the interest. It's smart money. I signed where he put the sticky notes. I trusted the man, so I trusted the documents. Our children went to college. Thomas showed me elaborate spreadsheets of tuition payments, loans he'd secured at fantastic rates. He was a hero, navigating the complex financial aid landscape. I was so grateful. I'd brag to my friends. I don't know what I'd do without Thomas handling all that. He's a wizard. The wizard. That's what I called him. I never stopped to ask what kind of magic he was really performing. The crack appeared in the year I turned 57. Thomas had been talking about early retirement. The market's been good to us, he said. We could travel. Really live. I was excited. I started dreaming of Italian villas and writing that novel. One afternoon, I was looking for a stamp in his old oak desk, the one that was always locked. For once, the key was in the little porcelain dish where he kept paper clips. A mundane mistake. A life-altering moment. I wasn't snooping. I was just looking for a stamp. But the drawer didn't hold stamps. It held a parallel universes. There were bank statements from institutions I'd never heard of. Credit card bills in both our names with limits that made my head swim. Loan documents against our paid-off cars. A second mortgage application on our home. And a ledger, in his precise handwriting, not of assets, but of debts. Columns and columns of them, with minimum payments and due dates. The total at the bottom was a number so large it seemed fictional. My hands went cold. The room tilted. This wasn't a mistake. This was a system. I spent the next week in a state of quiet, surgical detective work. I called the credit bureaus and ordered our reports. Mine was thin, pristine. His was a horror story. I went to the county recorder's office and found liens on our property. I accessed our main joint account online and saw the clever transfers. Money moving out to pay investor account or business operating fund. Accounts I had no access to. The nest egg was a myth. The investments were debts. The strategic leverage was us, balanced precariously over a canyon. He had been using new debt to service old debt, a roiling, hidden ocean beneath the calm surface of our lives. My salary, which I dutifully deposited into our joint account, had been a drop in that ocean. And he'd done it all while presenting me with a beautiful, fraudulent balance sheet of our life. I waited until the weekend. I made his favorite meal. I set the table. I felt eerily calm. The grief and rage were there, but they were buried under a mountain of cold, hard clarity. After dinner, I didn't bring out the dishes. I brought out the folder. I placed it on the table between us. "What's this?" he asked, his smile faltering. "Our life, Thomas. The real one." I opened it. I showed him the credit report, the ledger, the loan documents. His face went through phases, shock, fear, and then a defensive, calculated anger. "You went through my private papers?" he thundered, trying to seize the moral high ground. "There are papers," I said, my voice like ice. "You've been lying to me for 20 years. You've bankrupted us." "It's not bankruptcy," he snapped. "It's strategy. You don't understand finance. These are temporary instruments. The market will stop." The word cut through his bluster. "Stop lying to me. For once in your life, just stop. How deep is the hole?" The truth spilled out then, in a torrent of excuses and self-pity. The investments that failed in the early 2000s. The gambling problem he'd hidden, online poker, sports betting. The shame that kept him digging, always thinking the next big score would fix it all. He'd created a fantasy world where he was a financial mastermind, and he'd dragged our real lives into it to pay the admission fee. Then came the plea, the tears, the "I'm so sorry, I'll fix it, I'll get help." Then came the plea, the tears, the "I'm so sorry, I'll fix it, I'll get help." He reached for my hand. "We can get through this together, Izzy. We always have. You've always forgiven me." That was his fatal miscalculation. He saw my past forgiveness for smaller hurts as a perpetual license. He saw my age as a cage. He looked at me, a 57-year-old woman, a grandmother, a teacher nearing retirement, and he saw desperation. He saw someone who would cling to the wreckage because the ocean was too vast and cold. He saw a victim. I saw a survivor. "There is no we in this," I said, standing up. "You did this alone. You will fix it alone. I am leaving." Leaving was a logistical nightmare wrapped in emotional devastation. I was not just leaving a marriage. I was escaping a financial crime scene. I hired a lawyer, a sharp woman named Lorraine who specialized in financial fraud within marriages. "You're not just getting a divorce, Isabel," she said. "You're disentangling yourself from an economic hostage situation." The numbers were staggering. We were over $500,000 in debt. Our house, my beloved home, was so leveraged it was worth less than the debts against it. My credit, though technically clean, was intertwined with his toxic history. Thomas fought the divorce not out of love, but out of terror. I was his life raft. Without my income and my clean credit history to help secure more loans, his house of cards would collapse immediately. He begged, he threatened, he tried to turn the children against me. "Your mother is abandoning me in my time of need." It was the loneliest period of my life. My friends couldn't grasp the scale of it. My children were hurt and confused. I moved into a rented room in a retired colleague's house. My possessions fit into a single suitcase and a few boxes in her basement. At 57, I was a ward of someone else's charity. But in that small, quiet room, I found a kernel of something I'd lost: agency. However small my world was, it was real. No lies. No hidden numbers. The panic attacks at 3 a.m. were about my own fear, not his secret debts. I took a second job tutoring in the evenings. I opened a bank account in my name only. I obtained a secured credit card with a $500 limit. My first step in rebuilding my financial identity from the ground up. I attended a support group for people dealing with financial betrayal. I learned the language I should have known all along. The divorce was finalized after 2 brutal years. I was awarded half the debt, a crushing burden. I filed for personal bankruptcy. It was the most humbling and liberating day of my life. Humbling because it felt like a public failure. Liberating because it was the financial equivalent of a forest fire. It burned away the dead, toxic wood, leaving scorched but fertile ground. Rebuilding at 60 is a different kind of work. It's not the frantic energy of youth. It's slow, deliberate, and deeply intentional. Every decision mattered. Step 1. The mind. Therapy was non-negotiable. I had to unravel why I'd trusted so blindly. Why I'd equated surrendering control with being loved. I had to grieve the 2 decades I'd lost, not just to his lies, but to my own passivity. Step 2. The work. I took early retirement from teaching, but immediately created a tutoring and educational consulting business. Isabel Grene. Education. My name. My reputation. My income. It started small, but it was mine. Step 3. The score. I treated my credit score like a second job. The secured card led to a small retail card. I paid every bill the day it arrived. My score climbed, point by painful point, from the ashes of bankruptcy. Step 4. The home. For 4 years I saved. I lived frugally, joyfully so. My goal wasn't a mansion. It was security. A small, sturdy place with a clear deed. When I was finally pre-approved for a mortgage, a tiny one, I wept in the loan officer's cubicle. The day I closed on my house, a 900-square-foot cottage with a wildflower garden, I walked through the empty rooms alone. I didn't hear echoes of lies. I heard possibility. I painted the walls colors he would have hated. I put in a garden. I got a cat. I built bookshelves and filled them with my book. My life was small, quiet, and radiantly, powerfully authentic. I traveled alone to places I chose. I reconnected with my children, now understanding the full truth. I forged friendships based on transparency, not performance. 5 years to the day after I'd walked out with my suitcase, I hosted a housewarming. My children, my granddaughter, my true friends were there. The sound of laughter in my home, a home with a clear title and a manageable mortgage, was the sweetest music I'd ever heard. Thomas's life, as I heard through the strained grapevine, had not gone well. The house was foreclosed on. The debts crushed him. He was living in an apartment, still working past 7th. He saw pictures of my cottage online, posted by my daughter. He saw me, looking healthier and happier than I had in years. He saw the life I'd built from the nothing he'd left me. One autumn evening, there was a knock on my yellow front door. I opened it and there he stood. Older, diminished, with the faded charm now just a ghost of manipulation. "Isabel," he said, his voice wavering. "You look amazing." I said nothing. I just waited. I've been doing a lot of thinking. A lot of therapy. I see now what I did. I've changed. He took a step forward. "What you've built here, it's incredible. It's what we always talked about." A small, sad smile touched my lips. "No, Thomas. It's what I talked about. You were busy talking to loan officers." He flinched. "Can I come in? Can we talk? Maybe we can help each other in our golden years." I felt no anger, only a profound, peaceful certainty. "Thomas," I said, my voice gentle but ironclad, "the life you stole from me is gone. It was an illusion you built. This," I gestured behind me to the warm light, the bookshelves, the proof of a life lived truly. "This is not that life. This is mine. I built it without you, and I will live in it without yours." I didn't slam the door. I didn't need to. The finality was in my eyes, in my posture, in the unshakable truth of the life that stood behind me. "Goodbye, Thomas." And I closed the door. I heard his footsteps retreat from my porch, from my life, for the last time. I turned the lock. The sound was not one of imprisonment, but of sanctuary. If you are listening to this and you feel a chill of recognition, if you have a drawer you've been afraid to open, a statement you don't understand, a partner who gets defensive about your money, please listen to that child. Financial infidelity is a betrayal of the soul as much as the wallet. It is the theft of your future, your security, your peace. You are not stupid for trusting. You were betrayed. It is never too late to start over. Even from less than zero. Even with a suitcase and a broken herd. Start with one true thing. One bank statement in your own name. One conversation with a fee-based financial advisor. One call to a lawyer. Your dignity is not in the house you might lose. It's in the truth you choose to face. Rebuilding is slow. It is humbling. You will learn about secured credit cards and bankruptcy clauses, and the terrifying freedom of a zero balance. You will learn that you are smarter, stronger, and more capable than the illusion you lived in ever allowed you to be. Thomas thought age made me desperate. He was wrong. Age gave me perspective. It gave me the clarity to see that a life built on lies is a life waiting to collapse. And it gave me the courage to walk into the emptiness and build something real, one honest brick at a time. The life he stole is gone. The life I built is mine. And if I can do it, so can you. Your next chapter doesn't begin when the dust settles. It begins the moment you decide to stop breathing. It is. Your security is not a privilege granted by someone else. It is a right you build for yourself. If you want to hear more story like this, please like the video and subscribe the channel. Hit the bell icon to get notified.